Getting rhythm, man.
Oh, it was great. It was a great feeling. Coach Grubb, he actually challenged us in a run game, and we just, challenge accepted. So we just went out there and do what we do best.
And talk about that last drive, not the one for the touchdown, but the 8 minutes you guys were able to kind of run off to put them in a bind.
We just do what we do best. It's all about preparation, at practice. And once that time comes, we succeed.
What do you think's the next step for the running game? Coach DeBoer says he feels like there's still some room for growth there.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of room to improve. We just got to take it day by day, step by step, and it all start off in practice, just to get better each and every day.
And how does it feel for you just to be back and have your biggest game, obviously of 2, but just to get going a little bit more this week?
Yeah, it was great. It's all about the offensive linemen, quarterbacks, just that bond we got, and without them, we won't be in the predicament we're in now.
How would you grade Caden Proctor as a runner?
Say it again.
How would you grade Caden Proctor as a runner?
Oh, yeah, hey, well, now y'all know we got an extra running back in the backfield now, Caden Proctor. And, he did great out there.
Coach talked about looking at every SEC game as a 15-round fight. Just how much are you guys embracing that mentality?
We're just trying to go 1-0. Any game, we're just trying to win. No matter if it's team undefeated or a team, overall, we're just out there just trying to win.
From your perspective, the being able to deal with adversity, a couple of responses this season, just where have you seen your team grow in that department?
We're just trying to stay level-headed, just be 1-0, just move that bad play in the past, and just keep moving forward.
And how did you feel your second game back? Because I know a lot of people say the biggest jump from first to second.
Of course, from the first game, I didn't play my best, but now, now I got a feeling of the game, I just do what I do best.
When you guys put that play in for Caden, you give him any tips, holding on to the ball carrier, anything?
Yeah, it's all about protecting the ball, in any situation. And, I was giving him little tips, on how to hold the ball properly and protect it.
What's the vibe like in the locker room after this win, after like last year, how that went? What were the conversations in the locker room like?
It was a win is a win. We're just in our 24-hour rule right now, celebrate right now. And then once that time over with, we just got to move on to the next game.
What was it like to send Diego Fabio home with the win, with a loss, back to Nashville?
We'll just focus on ourselves, just being 1-0. Of course, pretty sure everybody saw all the social media stuff. We really weren't paying attention the other day, just trying to focus on ourselves and just do what we do best.
One of the things about this team has been their ability to tune out that outside noise. How much do you feel like that got tested this week?
Oh, it was great. We got tested great. Just be able to block out that noise. It was great for us to stay level-headed and just keep moving forward.
In this league, Coach DeBoer said it, there's going to be a lot of close games. Just the resilience to hang in there and find a way to win 2 weeks in a row in the SEC. Obviously, it's what you're trying to do, but it's hard, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's very hard. You just got to keep going. You just can't give up. Once you lay back a little bit, then that's when things go left.
I know you're an offensive player, but did Pavia's comments motivate the team at all, knowing what he had said and some other guys were saying? How much did that play into motivation for this game?
Nah, everybody, well, apparently everybody saw what he had put on social media and all, but, it didn't really bother us. We was focused on ourselves, trying to find ways how we can get better each and every day.
That touchdown at the end of the game, I know you don't concern yourself with those things, but it made a lot of people pretty happy, I bet.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Some people not happy.
Thank you.
What was this week like with Ty? Obviously so much of the attention was on Pavia coming into the game. How did Ty kind of handle some of the chirping, some of the talk coming from the other side?
Nothing that changed. He'll just being him, encouraging, being a great leader he is now. And, nothing really changed. We just decided to keep going, put gas on the pedal, and just trying to get every win.
How do you see kind of his improvement from week 1 to now, Ty's?
It ain't, he improved every day, every single day in practice, if it's being a leader, becoming a better quarterback, he's just been great overall.
Hey, Jan, I'm sorry if you've already been asked this, but I'm curious, in terms of your offensive approach, like, how important is time of possession? Like is that something on your radar going into a week? Like we want to hold the ball as long as possible. What does that conversation look like?
You know, we don't really think of that. You know, we just go play by play. You know, just try to go down the field and score.
It seems like from an outside perspective that a lot of what you guys did offensively was kind of what Vanderbilt may have done to you guys last year.
Yeah.
I mean, was that a part of the conversation?
To be honest, I ain't really peeped it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just in the game. You know, just in that game mode.
Yeah. I mean, how important is? I mean, this is a dumb question, but how important is time of possession in terms of like dominating and kind of keeping, I guess, momentum? I guess.
Oh, you know, it's great. You know, we gotta keep that momentum going. You know, no matter what. You know, and you know, it just, you know, it just is what it is. You know.
Coach was in there, he talked about the resiliency of this group, blocking out the outside noise, especially through these 2 games. What do you think you all showed in terms of the character of this group you guys have?
You know, we just got to be one of those, you know, black out all the background noise, social media and all that, and just do what we do best.
When they came out through a big first punch, you're looking around, they got Johnny Manziel on the sideline, Pavia said everything. How do you block out the outside noise that seems to get bigger and bigger with each week around this team?
You know, we too much don't really care about that. You know, we're here to play a football game, and that's all it is.
How much does a performance like today on the ground, which obviously you were a huge part of, how much does that open up the running game?
You know, open up the running game a lot, you know, from the oldest guy to the youngest. You know, we are going to go out there and be great.
How much does Ty's confidence sort of permeate your all's entire team? Not just offense, but your whole locker room.
You know, he always confident, you know, even if he did make a bad play, you know, he always got that positive energy going.
Have you seen him, I know you didn't play the first couple games, but have you seen his confidence and the guys around his confidence grow every game?
Oh, yeah, you know, he brings great energy. You know, whoever around him, you know, you're going to see them get more energy in themselves.
Jim, so you got your first revenge win from last season, and how do you channel that energy, not just going into the zoo next week, but then also preparing for Tennessee for the next revenge win?
I don't think it's a revenge, you know, game. You know, we're just out here just trying to win. You know, just trying to go 1-0.
Last 2.
What's been the level of focus and intensity in this running back room, even through the last few weeks when maybe the yardage hasn't always shown, but what's just been the level of just hitting it in practice, hitting it in the games that maybe hasn't shown up in the stat sheet?
You know, it's all about preparation, you know, like what you said, I'll start off in practice, you know, just go over it and just keep going until you get successful.
Thanks.